Right. Well, good evening and welcome to StyleRx Behind the Curtain, where we share stylist stories and just talk all about what it is to be a cabi stylist and share the good, the bad, the beautiful, the everything where it comes to our career. So mostly great, but when there's challenges, we're very transparent about it. So we are so excited to have Carlette Thierry with us this evening. Carlette is from Austin, Texas. I just learned that she's going to be celebrating her 10th year, which is 20th season with Cabi. And for those not aware, in the cabi world, she gets this beautiful ring to celebrate that event. So in cabi, we don't wait for you to retire or any of that. We just shower you with fun stuff as your career is progressing. So Carlette, we're so excited to have you with us tonight. And we would like for you to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get into the fun conversation.
Thanks for having me, ladies. Rebecca, Amy. I can't wait to meet you all in person. Hopefully in January 2022 as they projected. But as Rebecca said, my name is Carlette Thierry. I am based in Austin, Texas. I've been a stylist for 10 years now. And I am married to a wonderful husband of almost 27 years. This come August, we have three beautiful children. My oldest is 24. He graduated from college 2 years ago. And then my second oldest is 19. He is a freshman at the Texas Tech University, major in chemistry. And then I have a teenage daughter who's 15, who is a freshman at the local high school here. So not quite yet an empty nester, but still, it's never a dull moment in my house.
Kind of getting real, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Amy's probably going to hop in here and tell you, but you parallel her kids exactly. Two boys and then a girl. And
Oh, wow.
yeah.
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 Sounds like I need to ship mine to you though and have you raise them for me.
Well, people say that all the time because I was raised by a single mom, and I had to grow up pretty fast. So I had four sisters, and then I have two brothers. But I have two older sisters that's older than me. Then I have two younger than me, and then I'm kind of like in the middle. Then it's my brothers kind of in between. So yeah, I had to grow up pretty fast. So I can only say the success I've had with my kids is just tough love. Tough love.
It goes a long way.
Yes, it does.
Sure. I think all of our generations though, I think we had a little more of that than maybe what the kids have now. And I haven't figured that out because I feel like I'm a tough love parent, but I don't know. I love it, Carlette. That's really cool.
Yeah, I am challenged though by my 15-year-old. I didn't believe it when people say, "Oh, you got a girl now. Wait until she becomes a teenager." I was like, I can handle it. I'm like, oh my goodness, it is a challenge. I think the boys were easier.
Oh, not for me. So good on you. I'm hoping that I get the reverse role and that my daughter stays easy.
Oh, wow. Okay. We're going to pray about that.
Yeah.
Breely's an absolute sweetheart. So
I bet she is. I've seen posts. She's adorable. So yes.
well, Carlette, I would love to hear from you with all of the different opportunities out there. I know it sounds like you went to two fashion experiences and you decided, by golly, this is for me. Why cabi? What made you choose this particular career path?
Because I can just sum it up. I was in the banking institution forever. And I honestly thought it was more of a male dominated type of environment when it came to branch management. Even though I had worked myself from a teller on up, but I really just didn't like the environment. It had gotten to the point where I was working to pay daycare. And I was like, oh gosh, I really wanted to like be at home with my kids. At the time, I just had the two boys, and my youngest son, he was at the daycare from like 6:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the evening. I mean, he was kind of like lashing out. I had to pull him out at different daycares, and I just got to the point where I was like exhausted. And, so my husband and I, made an agreement. He was like, you need to just come home. Decided to come home, a couple of years later, end up having my daughter, which was a blessing because I always wanted a little girl. And she was going off to kindergarten. And I wanted to have something for myself, but then too, I still wanted to be at home, like when she came home from school. So there was this Austin Women's Magazine convention, and I decided to go. And at the time, the tickets were like $75. I'll be honest, if you've ever been in a situation where you have to be a stay-at-home mom, you watch your budget. And so I was like, oh my gosh, $75. These ladies are going to be dressed to the nines. So I got to figure out what I can kind of put together in my closet to kind of make sure I kind of look the part. So, I mean, I had on a simple shirt from Target, no lie, a long, denim skirt from Express, I think I bought years ago, and I just kind of dressed it up. And this itty bitty little lady comes walking across the street as I parked in the hotel where the event was being held. And just out of the blue, she goes, I was always told if you see someone that has on an outfit that you like, you need to compliment them. She compliments me. And then, we just kind of started conversating. And she goes, why are you here? And I go, oh, I'm looking for a job. And then she goes, really? I was like, yeah. And then she said, I think I may have a job for you. So we just kind of like bonded. She invited me to where she was sitting. And then 2 weeks later, we exchanged numbers. 2 weeks later, I get this beautiful invitation to this, cabi show at the time before they called it Fashion Experience. And I'll be honest with you ladies, I was a little reluctant because I thought it was one of those little Tupperware party things. And I was like, oh no, that's where I'm going. And then, my husband was like, I think you need to go. He said, you never know, go. So he pushed me to go. I was like so mesmerized by the presentation, the clothes, the ambiance, the fellowship with the ladies. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? You get paid to do this? And then by that time, she invites me to the second one. And I'm like, okay. So you said you literally are home with your kids, but then you go do this, and then you have the flexibility. You don't have to worry about a boss, schedule, whatever. And you get paid to do this? And she goes, yeah. I said, okay, I need to talk to my husband. We need to find out how I can start this business. And after I spoke and she kind of showed me the module and everything, I was ready. And I'll be honest, when I was in corporate America, I guess I was kind of the rebel when it came to dressing, because I got in trouble every time I wore a skirt. The manager would come with a ruler and literally like look and say, is it 2 inches above you? I'm like, are you kidding me? So I got tired of being like chastised of what I wanted to wear because I thought the banking institution was so boring. So when I figured that I could actually dress the way I wanted to and be myself, I was like, okay, I'm in. And so here I am 10 years later.
Wow. Well, Carlette, I have to tell you, you are giving me goosebumps. And I know when you did our Style RX, we talked about some of our similarities in the past, but you have mentioned some things that are literally parallel to my life and why I became a stylist. So I want to just kind of tell you what I think is so fun about your story. You were in the banking industry. That's where I came from as well. And I agree to the mundane feeling of putting the same thing on every time. There were women that I worked with that should never have been forced to wear the uniforms we were forced to wear. They were never comfortable. They were constantly tugging and pulling. And I would wear, back when we had to just wear all black, I would wear my own black clothes and make my name tag and like maybe put on a company scarf, and they would just like throw a fit. And I was like, look, until you come up with uniforms that make me feel good and I have to stand on my feet for 12 hours a day, this is what I'm wearing. And so I really relate to that. And I relate to the fact that, you know what, there is something great about being asked to participate in cabi. And I think that's probably the biggest misconception that we see in our profession. I mean, Rebecca and I have talked a lot about how this really is a professional career. We want women to look at us and go, okay, this is a real career. This is a job. This is not just a hobby business, anything like that. And so you have really already, within the 5 minutes of us talking, just cemented that idea that if somebody asks you to host, to attend, to look into the business, it's because we admire you. It's because there is something about you that we want in our lives. And I think that is so different than anybody trying to sell you on a product. And I think that happens to be the secret sauce within Cabi. I also want to say 20 seasons in 10 years does not come easy.
No.
And not only that, 27 years of marriage. So you guys, we have a superstar here with us tonight. And anybody that sticks with something for 20 years, did she freeze on you, Rebecca? Oh, there she is. Anyone that can stick with something for 20 years or 20 seasons, excuse me, there is something to that. And yes, we work really hard about it, but she was attracted to somebody that saw something in her and she didn't question it. She was just like, yes, girl, let me know about it. And that's exactly how I was as well. And so I really love hearing your story more in depth and what got you there. So I just wanted to say thank you. My next question for you, and now that you've been doing this for 10 years, obviously there's been an evolution, but a lot of what we do with Cabi, the core of it is the same. So can you tell me a few things that you've done over time, and maybe there's been a tweak here or two, but what would you attribute to the long-term and success factor within Cabi? Because it's a little known fact that we do have a retention rate of stylists of almost 90%. And that is so unique. So what is it for you that makes you feel like, okay, I'm 1 or 2 seasons in and this is actually kind of working the way they said it would work. And now 10 years in, you're like, I told you, it is working. So what would that be for you?
I would have to say, just the relationship that I have made with my clients. A lot of my clients and hostesses, believe it or not, started off by referrals and just meeting ladies at other shows. But I can honestly say those ladies have truly been my, just my bread and butter. They are my friends. They are really my friends. It's just not the cabbie colleagues and, oh, you just buy a dress for me here or there. These ladies, I've been to like birthday parties. Kids' graduations. I'm telling you, when they say it's more than just the clothes, it really is. And there have been some seasons where I struggled and I thought about like, okay, I'm going to take a sabbatical or, and then come back and kind of like, revamp. And then I just can't walk away. Because I think about my clients, my hostesses. I'm like, what are they going to do if I just walk away? What is that saying to them? So like I said, going back to my childhood, being raised by a single mom, just seeing her work so hard to put 3 of us through school with no type of financial backing except for what she made. And, so I was like, no, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to leave these ladies. I am here to stay regardless of the struggle, because I've always been told whatever doesn't hurt you will not kill you. So, hey, there you go.
That's amazing.
That's fantastic. Well, unlike you two who were just ready to jump in, I was in the I'm too busy camp. And so when I had been a client for 14 years, loved the clothes, knew I loved the company, but just thought that I was too busy for this. And so I had actually been kicking it around in my brain for like 2 weeks. And then I finally decided, okay, I'm just going to tell my husband, Kevin, about it. And he's going to say, nope, you don't need to do one more thing. So I did. And he says, why haven't you applied yet? So I'm thankful for that today, because who knows where I would be without this. But I think the three of us were in the mid-season meeting here a couple Octobers ago, where we visited about different technology things that would make our lives as stylists easier. And it's just mind-blowing to me how Cabi listens to what we need, what we're asking for. You know, they bend over backwards to make this business work for us and run smoothly. And it is boggling to see how fast our IT department has moved after that meeting. I mean, things have just been happening like crazy. And I know IT departments don't normally move like that. And so we've had lots of different technology rollouts, but I would love to hear what your favorite technology rollout has been. I think for me, it's something that happened even before that meeting. We had Cabi Tap, and it's just continued to get better. But for me, I love Tap. I'm all about it, and Front Row. But what's your favorite?
Well, okay, I'm going to take it back old school. I mean, because I've been in the game almost 10 years. You remember how when we would put in orders and we had that like, you know, archaic kind of setup where it would just take forever and ever. I was so excited when they launched Clio.
Even through the headache of Clio, but I know what one you're talking about, because our down arrow was not down arrow, and when you wanted to order one pair of pants, then it would say two, and you had to sit for hours. So
yes, oh my gosh, I was like, oh, we have evolved.
For those of you not versed in Cabi lingo, Clio is our back office. So Clio is where we do all the things. We get training, we have access to all of our client base, we place orders, we do shows. Clio just makes our life incredibly easy, and she continues to get better.
Yeah, without Clio, we wouldn't have Cabi Tap. Clio was the first step. I remember the Scoop meeting when they said, okay, we've gone through the growing pains. We now have a new operating system, and now we can birth all these technology functions. So had they not taken that step with Carlette's favorite part, we wouldn't have any of the technology we have. So it really is the backbone of our company. That's an interesting answer.
Oh, thank you.
Mine is also Cabi Tap. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing as Clio. If they couldn't have, and this just shows how smart our company and our IT is. They knew what they wanted, and they knew the steps to take to get us there as seamless as possible. So Tap had to come first after Clio, and then they worked on Front Row separately. And had they not had Tap and worked it out so it's so absolutely amazing, Front Row would never be able to be merged the way that it now is. So I think all of this is saying that, guess what? We can now be stylists without loading our cars every time. So my question to you is, Rebecca and I have really tried to figure out our business outside of the show so that we really have that relationship, because, you know, in the old school days, Carlette, if we had to drive too far, we saw our clients once every 6 months. We might talk to them on the phone. We might do a few things. But what is something that you have loved, even outside of the Cabi technology? Maybe Zoom, maybe Facebook, Instagram. You have an incredible Instagram. If you guys are not following her, it's Little Red, and I'm going to let her give you the exact address. You need to follow Carlette. But what is something that you have found through COVID, through all this technology stuff that we're using, that has really made an impact on your business on both a personal level as well, and like growth, as well as a relationship bonder with your clients?
Definitely the introduction to Front Row, because remember, Front Row was just supposed to be beta for, like you say, for those who can reach out to their clients, because I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina. So I used to do shows there, but then of course it gets to the point where it's expensive to ship the rack, travel with the clothes, So when front row was introduced, even though we had to go ahead and move forward with COVID, I was so excited about that as well, because I was like, oh my goodness, I can reach back out to my girlfriends back at home in South Carolina and, still be able to see their faces and do shows, and they can still buy cabi. They wouldn't feel compelled that they only could do it like once a year or what have you. And so that was a blessing in disguise, because that kept me connected with all those ladies. Even I have a client in Virginia, same thing. Front row saved me, especially during COVID. Because if you would refer back to the virtual scoop, and where Kelly Jones said that she wanted to kind of like reach out to more people, I love that map idea, because now I am really using that map. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know somebody in Arizona. I know somebody in Kansas. So, I'm going to continue to use that map idea to reach out to my clients, and with the enhancement of front row, because hey, I don't have to come to them. All I have to do is just set up the show in Clio, and then here we go. It's like Zoom, but you see these beautiful clothes, runway style, and they get the favorite everything. I mean, who couldn't ask for anything more? So.
Absolutely adore front row. And for any of you that are watching this that aren't familiar with that platform, it's an online platform that cabi has designed for us. It's now mobile friendly, so you can access it right on cabi tap. And it's just like you're sitting on the front row of a cabi fashion show, and you see the clothes on models walking, so you see how they move, and you get a better idea of just how they drape the body. And so it's just a fantastic opportunity. So if you are out there anywhere around the globe, we have stylists across the United States, Canada, and the UK, and know that you can get connected with them. And that's all through cabi.com, right? cabiclothing.com.
Cabi online.
cabionline.com. There you go. My brain completely froze. So I'm glad I've got smart women here with me. One of the things that drew me to this company was the fact that we are women founded, we're women run, and we have 4 women of all different shapes and sizes that are our design team. They also have completely different styles. So I love how we just have this breadth of appeal that really amasses generations and all different style types and body types. And Amy is right. Carlette has an absolutely incredible Instagram account, and I'm so glad that you bust out of that corporate box and you're able to show your style, because she's got the funnest color mixing and pairings and different shoes. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a shoe girl. So shoes and patterns and just all the things. So absolutely phenomenal. With all of the good things that happen, and we definitely have tons of that in our business, we don't want to candy coat what some of the challenges might be. So what is one of the things that maybe you've struggled with over the years that you figured out, or maybe you're in the midst of figuring out? What would one of those things be for you?
I can honestly say building more clientele. You know how when you get complacent and you have your fundamental group of women that are dedicated to buying from you each season, hosting you from each season. And so about almost 5 years ago, I moved from one part of Austin, which was considered North Austin, to another part, which was considered Southwest. And I found this area by just having a show with a client. I was mesmerized by the area, the homes. And, I was like, oh gosh, if I can get out there, the school district was awesome. I was like, okay, if I can just get out there, and then, I'll be new to the crowd. I might be the only cabi stylist maybe. And then here, I thought the business was going to come to me. Sorry, no. I had to really work these women because I was new in the neighborhood. They didn't know me, and then I find out there were like maybe 8 other cabi stylists in this area. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so that's where the adversity hit, because I really wanted to rebuild more relationships out here, because I was new, and I thought maybe people didn't hear about it, but it was still a struggle because every time I would go to the gym and thinking I would have a potential client, they already knew about cabi. So finally, I just had to like put myself out there. I'm like, okay, I'm going to mail a lookbook to every woman in this neighborhood. I don't care. I'm going to go on to the Facebook for the neighborhood page and say, hey, my name is Carlette. I'm a stylist if you need clothes. And, at first they did not gravitate to me at all, because most of the mom had younger kids. I was one of the older moms. So, I guess they felt that we didn't mesh. And so, they would be walking with their Lululemon leggings and diaper bags. And then I would be going up to pick up my daughter dressed to the nines. So I was like, oh, then maybe I need to like switch it around. So then finally when cabi came up with some athleisure wear, I was like, okay, I got to figure out how I can look like them. So maybe they feel that, hey, I'm not trying to like outdo them. And so finally, when I just kind of like put some little athleisure wear together, they were like, okay, what is that? And so finally I had to host a show at my home and welcome them to my home. And then finally there were like, one of them was like, okay, I'll host for you. And so when she hosted, it was a decent size show. We had a lot of fun. And finally, I was like, okay, finally it's starting to work, because she told somebody else. But it took a while. It took a couple of seasons before they were really wanting to trust me, hey, introducing the brand to them. But hey, I'm glad I went through that struggle, because it made me a little bit more even humbling to the fact that just because I thought I went from one area to another area just based on the size of homes and property value, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy. So, hey, I learned the hard way, but I'm glad I did, because it kind of like made me even more humbling to just getting those connections.
You know what I love about you, Carlette, is you just feel that you were raised by a strong woman, because it radiates from you. You've got this no excuse attitude, and it is so compelling. And I'm sitting here thinking, who would not just want to stare at this beautiful woman and just follow her around town and wonder, you were so mesmerizing to watch. But you really hit on something. And cabi is unlike any other direct sales company out there, where they do check your area and measure success rate. So although you felt like there was 8 stylists, everybody knows about it, you had to submit your new address with cabi. They had to make sure that you could run an active business in that area. And look, success did happen. Did it take some elbow grease? Absolutely. But I think that's the other misconception that we get, is that we might have 70,000 stylists because that's what they have with all the oil companies or the makeup companies. And we don't. We really have I believe we're just under 3,500 stylists all across the United States, Canada, and the UK. So our opportunity is really based on the elbow grease we put into it, right? It really is about that work. And I think that goes back to that idea of, when we're reaching out to women, yes, we need the business, but we reach out to women that we're drawn to. And I like to say that the relationships have come into my life are the best of the best, because nobody invites someone to cabi that they don't like. They don't want to dress like somebody that's a toxic person. And so as stylists, we get introduced to the most incredible people, and they have impacted my life in ways I cannot explain. So I really admire the fact that you didn't just quit, and you didn't just go, well, that was, what did I do? You actually dug in and you found a problem and you solved it. And I think that probably lends to your background in the corporate setting because, you know, whether we liked it or not, we had a job to do, right? So I love that you used that same mentality and dug in. One thing I wanted to say, Rebecca was talking about our design team and how incredible they are. We have an opportunity, and I would love to know your input on this. We have an opportunity to sit in with Kat Woodside, our Chief Design Officer, and Katie Malone, our President. So you come from the corporate setting. You also know how closely we are, you know, we're not that far if you want to talk Kevin Bacon to our founders. Most of us have a personal relationship with the founders of this company. And so we do have this opportunity where they're going to take over, and Kat Woodside and Katie Malone are going to talk about the business standpoint from both the president's, you know, view and the design officer's view. And what a unique opportunity that is to hear from them one-on-one. So would you tell us a little bit about maybe how you felt coming into a company like that after being so far removed? I mean, in the banking industry, for me, I felt like people would make changes that had never been on a teller line, or people would make changes that had never even been in a branch setting. And they were changes that people that, like, we were like, why are they doing this? This makes no sense. It's actually going to cost them more money in the long run. So to have such a close-knit relationship with our IT team, with the design team, with our founders, how did that make you feel? And did you feel like it was too good to be true? And kind of tell me if that's anything that has impacted you now in your business as well.
Well, you know, at first, when you come in as a stylist, I mean, you know, I came in as a stylist where my upline did everything by the book, you know, like, you know, she would tell me, don't reinvent the wheel, you know, do what Cappy would say. And I'm like, okay. And then, you know, for the first, I think going into my 5th season, I was doing exactly what she said. Don't reinvent the wheel, do everything Cappy would say. And then, you know, I was like, okay, this is not working. I have to figure out how it works for me, because it might work that way for you, but it doesn't work for me. But then to, you know, like you said, you know, being a part of the banking industry, you kind of get used to certain things, how things are done. So you just kind of like, you know, work around it. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just work around what they say is going to happen. And then finally I was like, okay, I've been doing this for almost 5 seasons. I haven't reinvented the wheel, so let me figure out something else. And then finally, I just kind of went to my upline. I was like, Larissa, this is not working. I have to figure out what works for me. You know, you were lucky, you kind of had your clientele, you know, you were able to build. I got to figure it out, you know, based on what I know works for Carlette. So I kind of like reinvented the wheel. But in the sense that I still kind of paid attention to what Cabby said, but I just kind of worked around it to where it benefited me. Like she wanted me to do the presentations kind of like verbatim by the script. And I was like, that's not me. I feel like a robot. You know, I was like, that's, I don't want to do that. And I was like, can I fit a little bit of ad lib in it? And she's like, no, why would you do that? And I'm like, because I don't think my clients would really kind of like really get it. So finally I would learn the script. I would practice. And then I would practice in front of my family, and they would say the same thing. They would be like, Carlette, you sound like a robot. So I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. So finally, when I switched it around, added some stuff and my little flavor to it, I noticed that I got more sales at those shows. People were laughing and they were enjoying themselves. And I said, oh, so I did reinvent the wheel, but it's still working. I'm still doing what Cabby said, but hey, I mean, I'm working to my personality. I'm making these ladies laugh and making them feel comfortable, not really in their own in the back. Cause you know how you have that one person in the back and they're writing everything down. You're like, are they really even paying attention to me? But hey, I mean, I would get compliments like, you're such a great presenter. And then finally, my upline, she came to one of my shows and she said, you know what, Carlette? Hey, keep doing what you're doing. She was like, hey, maybe that worked for me, but she said, you're on a roll. So I was so glad that I wasn't, I was okay with reaching outside the box. And then, so to answer your question, that's what I love about this company, because Cabi listens, even though, they've been doing, like the show experience, and they've always kind of like say, this is what works. But then too, they listen to our ideas because they know they're, governed by a lot of smart women who's been into so many different type of, hats worn and in their jobs. So, hey, so they listen and they're like, okay, what should we do? And I am so glad that I've been with this company almost 10 years and I've seen things evolve, and where I like finally is like, okay, I can finally tell Kat, oh, I'm so glad when you became the designer, because I think you finally kind of like got what I was trying to do before, Carol left, because Carol had her own flavor, but I love how the way, kind of like Kat did it, saying, then Katie comes in with her, her brightness and her personality, and she's like a sister. I feel like both of them are like a sister. We can come to them and we can talk to them about anything. And I mean, that's what really gravitated me towards this company. I mean, I just felt like, they're going to have our back, because people say it's a sorority, but it's really a sisterhood. It really is. And that's what I love about it.
I don't know about you, Rebecca, but she gave me goosebumps.
I've got goosebumps too. Yeah, it's, and 100% amen to everything that she just said. And our executive team does have our back. They have our best interest at heart every single time. And when they make decisions, they make them for our best interest. And I'm always blown away by the transparency and the culture that we have at Cabi. There is nothing like it. I have been involved in lots of different companies and, millions of consultants that are with those companies. And there is absolutely nothing like what Cabi has created. And I love when you talk about, Carlette, that, you kind of reinvented the wheel, but you didn't really. I mean, you've got the framework, you've got the fashion experience or the show that you're at, you're doing the presentation, but you're doing it in your own way. And for me, I love to listen to those training videos and the show pros over and over and over. In fact, when we're at a scoop that I fly to, then I always download and listen to my earbuds when I'm flying back or when I'm sleeping at night and all the things. And so then I find these words coming out of my mouth and it's like, oh, that's where that came from. But you can make it your own. I think it's just phenomenal that we have the training that we have for 100% free. We have the websites that we have for 100% free. We now have this app that is free for us and our clients. I mean, I'm blown away by the company. And another thing, I was on a call with several stylists here, and we had just heard from our Canadian and UK corporate, whoever is over there helping build those areas. I can't remember the exact term right now, but the stylists on the call were just talking about, oh my gosh, this is a ground floor opportunity in Canada and the UK. And I was like, gals, this is a ground floor opportunity in the US. I mean, we have less than 3,500 stylists in all of those areas. We are a 20-year foundation of success company that is still a ground floor opportunity. So I think we've got to really embrace that and appreciate it. It really kind of blows my mind.
Well, and don't you guys think that it wouldn't matter? I mean, Cabi is not built in that way that if you start, I mean, Carlette's been doing this for 10 years. Somebody that starts tomorrow could be higher than her in sales in 2 years. So Cabi is not that traditional, I guess that's where the pyramid scheme idea came from. I really feel like it is just a foundation that works, and that is like any solid business. They tell you to allow 3 to 5 years to really know what your level of success is. And so team building, yes, we have that opportunity like those other companies, but how many times has our team member surpassed us because maybe they're doing it different. Maybe they're working 40 hours a week and I'm doing 20. So I really think there is, going back to the culture thing that you talked about, there's not this hierarchy of celebrity. I don't know how to say that right. The culture really is very authentic, and we want to see Carlette's presentation. And I'm a lot like her. I say things that I probably shouldn't say.
Keep the camel in the desert.
Yes, you always keep the camel in the desert, right? So, we have to bring our personalities in, because that's where our relationships are built. And I think that's the other part that sets this apart is, yes, they know we have this training. It's unbelievable. But the other side of our training is about leadership and how to bring women on as stylists without leaving them out as a number. And I think that's the other part of this company that is not spoken about. That is why we have a 90% retention rate. People cannot buy in for the discount. They buy in to build. And so it is our responsibility then to lead them, walk beside them, and to guide them. And whatever they decide to do with it, if Carlette was my team member and she was like, look, I got to do this Carlette's way, I'd be like, honey, you go for it. Let me know what you need from me. And it would be my responsibility to ask her how she's doing and then let her talk. And those are things that we really are taught here. So Carlette, really quick, can you tell me how you do team building yourself? Do you have a team? Have you found a financial gain in that? Because that's also something that's a little different with Cabi. For those of you that don't know, we only have 2 commission structures. We either have a base commission of 25%, or we have what they call a team building bonus commission where you get 33%, but it's of your own sales, ladies. It is not based on 30 different people buying the product underneath you. So if you work hard by yourself, you can have that higher commission structure by yourself. However, it's going to be a lot easier if you got a team of girls helping you get there. So Carlette, can you tell me a little bit about how you team build? Do you have a team, and what you have found good and bad and ugly with it?
Well, I can honestly say I do not have a team, but I am constantly seeking out new potential stylists, just like how I was founded. I almost came pretty close last season to launching a team member as a launch stylist, but I think in the end, she was still kind of curious about, start trying to build this business through a pandemic. I still keep in touch with her. Matter of fact, I'm inviting her to the fashion makeover, and I'm praying that this wins her over. I mean, I've been with her on some, cabi chats, and she found me. So I'm just going to be honest. Don't underestimate the power of social media. She found me on Facebook, just, kind of like scrolling through. My profile came up and she messaged me and she said, look, I love your profile. Matter of fact, she's on the borderline, Rebecca, between Missouri and Kansas City. That's what she told me. She's in some city called, I think it starts with an O-L. I can't even pronounce it, but yeah. So anyway, she found me on social media and I went through the module with her. She was very impressed. She was definitely concerned about the financing, how to even start the business. I mean, I was pretty thorough with her. She liked the fact that I was pretty straightforward. So she came this close, but again, she just was like, the timing isn't right. And so, hey, some people can look at me and say, you've been in this career for 10 years. Why haven't you found a team member? It's not for everyone, but then too, it's the timing. The timing has got to be right because, I've heard stylists say they got 2, 3, 4 team members at a time, and then they end up with maybe 1 at the end of the season, or maybe at the end of 2 seasons. So I've always been the type of stylist. I always recommend, or promote the business. But then again, when they ask me those hard questions about finances, stability, how do you keep your business going? I'm always honest with them first and foremost, but then I still come back and say, hey, they ask me, why are you still doing this if you don't have a team? I was like, because that supplement and that foundation. I've been able to, put my daughter in expensive dance lessons, pay for vacations. Yeah, I might not be the breadwinner, but my husband look at me like I am because I still run the household. So there you go.
Yeah. But you know what? That's exactly why we love you. I have one team member. Rebecca has one, potentially two. And she got accepted.
She was accepted.
So she now has two. But truly, I think that actually also speaks to our 90% retention rate, because we're not trying to just sell people up to sign them up. And I like to tell people that 1 to 2 team members with cabi is going to do what 30 or 40 people that don't work their businesses under another company is going to do for you. And so I actually love your answer and your authenticity and your honesty, because team building is harder with cabi. We do have a higher buy-in. However, cabi always has a solution to everything that we are hung up on. And so with that buy-in, there is a tried and true 20-year way to get that initial investment back. And most of you that might be watching with this are very aware that we have sample cells, and that goes into buying the next season line. So no, I honestly have ran this business. Well, I've been a stylist 2 times with cabi. I came and left and came back. And you can do it by yourself. That's the thing. You don't have to have a team of women, but you're never alone either. And I think that's the one thing that's really important to know. Maybe you're new, maybe you don't have the time, maybe you just want to do this part-time and you're really not interested in team building. You can do this by yourself, but the cabi community within itself, we wrap our arms around each other. And I think that's one of the greatest things from this pandemic, is that as a community, instead of going on our own quarters, actually our community of stylists have really reached out to everyone to make sure we're okay and that we're still going and that we're, and it's been an organic thing. It really has just been, our founders are now doing a Zoom call every Friday, at least in mine. So now I'm like, well, gosh, that was so much fun. I want to do a Zoom call. I want to bring some ladies in. That's sort of how this thing with Rebecca and I, and look at the relationships that we have now, even though we haven't seen each other in a year at a real scoop. I cannot wait to kiss your face. Every time I talk to you, I am more and more in love with who you are and the incredible person that you are. And so before we wrap this up, Rebecca and I love to do this little game.
Okay.
Called Rapid Fire. So I don't know if Rebecca talked to you about these or not, but we're going to keep this right on the hour for you. So Rebecca, I'm going to let you answer her first question. And what these are, or ask her first question, Carlette, is we like to ask you quick, kind of 1-word questions. You can just shoot them out and we'll take turns. So Rebecca, go ahead.
Favorite shoe company?
Nine West.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Dresses or trousers?
Dresses.
Favorite color?
Red.
Ooh. Okay, speaking of color, this is one that Rebecca and I like to ask. Within the cabi community, we have done a personality profile test. So I would like to know your dominant color.
You probably already know. It was yellow.
Is your second one red?
Yeah.
She's our girl, Rebecca. I did. That is awesome.
All right. Favorite book?
God Does Not Like Ugly.
Oh.
I haven't read that one.
Yeah. Text me the author.
Okay, I will.
Just say it here.
It's deep.
Okay, I love that. We need a little more kindness and a little less ugly in the world. Okay, chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Ooh, so you're a vanilla ice cream girl, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Breyers brand with the little vanilla bean.
You sound like my second son. He'll say, well, if you're going to buy ice cream, you have to buy vanilla bean. Don't get that natural bean crap. And I'm like, vanilla's vanilla. And he's like, no, it's not.
I am chocolate all the way, just so you know. All right. Favorite piece from the current collection?
Oh, you know what? Drew jacket. Drew jacket.
That's a good one. And you know what? That's one that has really grown on me because I was really worried about it having no shape of how it would work with all my clients, but it's just us teaching them those little style tips and they have fallen in love with it. So,
Yes, absolutely.
okay, I have one more that I want to ask.
Okay.
What is your go-to when you have nothing, which is never, especially if you're yellow? I know you're all over the place with what you want to do. But what would be, if you had nothing else to do in the world, your go-to? Would you read a book? Would you go on a hike? Would you go on vacation? And where would that be? Just quickly though.
Go on vacation, it would be Paris.
Oh, a city vacation.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Well, Amy, you kind of stole my direction there. So, favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby? Oh. Dancing.
Oh,
Love to dance.
Soup in January is going to be a lot of fun. All right. Well, we want to really thank Carlette. Before we go, Carlette, will you let us know what your exact IG handle is really quick?
Sure. You want me to type it in the chat or you just?
No, you can just say it.
Okay, it's at Little Red and it's spelled LITTLEE_REDD.
Okay, great. And I knew there was something kind of funny in the spelling. So if anyone doesn't know how to get a hold of her and they want to follow her on Instagram, you can reach out to Rebecca and I. We both follow her, love her, share her posts. So we will definitely direct you to her. That's the greatest. I think Instagram is probably one of the greatest tools that we can refer our clients to. Because if they don't have our body type, we can say go to Instagram. If they don't know how to wear an outfit and we're not available, they can hashtag searches. So if you're not on Instagram, it's definitely a huge resource for you to use, especially if you're a cabi addict and maybe you're a little old school and like in the olden days when we didn't have that, instead we would just take pictures to the show in a little picture book. Well, now we have Instagram. So anything that has been hashtagged, you can find there and you can follow several different stylists. And that's the one thing Rebecca and I love to do is share our community of our most beloved stylists with you. So as we wrap this up, we just want to thank you, Carlette, for your time, for being a guest on Style RX Behind the Curtain, sharing your beautiful story and your amazingly beautiful face and personality with us. We're so blessed to have you here. Now, a little announcement. Rebecca and I are going to be delaying our Style RX this Friday. I will be traveling and we were going to pre-record it, but life happened. So we will be back the following week. And then next week, we will also be behind the curtain with a little mashup and business conversation as well. Which one are we doing? The business conversation or the mashup?
I think it's the mashup this month.
We'll surprise you. That's where the yellow in all of us come in.
Okay.
We'll surprise you. But
Okay.
we'll be back. We'll be back next Wednesday night at 6 Mountain, 7 Central. And you can adjust your time zone from there. We just really want to thank you for your support and love of our business. And we hope the next time you get dressed, it will also bring a smile to your face. Have a wonderful day.